What's up, everybody? Welcome to Homertown Hockey, the official podcast of Hating Joseph Coney. My name's Phil Bittner. I'm joined as usual by my co-host Trenton Fuller.
Is cereal soup?
I hate these is one food a different food argument. That's like is a hot dog sandwich thing.
Would you consider like a bowl of cereal? Is that like having a bowl of cold soup, like a spazzo?
Gazpacho?
No, it's not fucking soup because it's two different things. You have dry cereal and then you add wet milk, where soup is everything like together. You gotta boil it all down and shit.
You wait long enough that the cereal isn't gonna be hard anymore.
Yeah, but like, I'm saying you add them separately. You don't like pour your noodles into broth.
I mean, technically you do when you have like pho and stuff.
Oh fuck! Damn, it might be soup.
Cereal.
Well, and as you see, Colton Gogger has already joined us. I gotta remember that Trent's gonna be doing these bits every week and start introducing him last.
Whatever, man. Fucking hi, everybody.
No, I know by the definition that it meets all like the prerequisites of being a soup, but I'm gonna say it's not. It's fucking cereal.
I hate soup, but I love cereal.
Yeah, well, in the same way,
you hate soup.
You haven't heard this take before?
No, I've
never.
No,
you hate soup?
Oh, Bill, you've heard this take before.
It just hit me that I am pretty sure that I have.
It's not that I dislike soup. I don't believe in it.
What the fuck does that even mean?
I'm gonna let you two have this out.
Why would you take all these perfectly good ingredients and put them in a broth of water when you could just put them on a piece of bread and have a sandwich?
Not water. It's stock.
Okay, that's just flavoring. It doesn't have any like nutritional value.
Trent, you make me want to quit this podcast and we haven't even really started it.
The second one that I've run off then?
My head hurts. Can we talk about hockey?
Yeah, and speaking of things that'll make our heads hurt less, let's talk about Tony DeAngelo.
I think as a podcast we can all agree, fuck Tony DeAngelo.
I agree to that.
Yeah. You guys gotta speak up. Sometimes right when you come in, it's very quiet.
Who, me or Trent?
Both of you.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Better?
Maybe if you like start your sentence out very loud and then quiet down.
That's what I was trying to do. Did that work better?
That did,
no,
actually.
Tony DeAngelo can fuck right off. You see, somebody commented underneath one of his posts and said you should worry about your own end instead of worrying about other people.
Yeah, worry about not being a fucking pylon this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, he already got scratched, and he's already skating with the taxi squad, so I think only good things are currently happening to Tony DeAngelo.
What I love about it is that so many people are acting like this is PC culture run amok, but he did play like absolute dog shit in that game against the Islanders. He got absolutely undressed by Matt Barzal. If there's any injustice in the world, Matt Barzal will be the last person to ever undress him in any way. But like, it's like, yeah, young defensemen get fucking scratched for playing like absolute shit all the time. He's not some fucking victim here.
Right. And not on top of that, he just had a fucking stupid meltdown about a really dumb thing, and he's on the wrong side of it. And in reality, fuck that dude. Like, that's all I have to say about Tony DeAngelo. Like, I'm wasting breath talking about how big of a fucking idiot Tony DeAngelo is. Fuck the Rangers, too. Fuck them.
I'm just going to co-sign on everything Colt said and let Trent wrap us up out of this topic.
Yeah, I really have nothing new to say about it. We talked about him, and I think we should be done.
All right. Well, let's talk about one of the other dumbest things I've seen this week. Jared McCann coming in throwing elbows against the Flyers. He got off
Hey,
with.
man.
Go
Beat
ahead,
him where you can.
Colt. What were you saying?
It's a They say, hey man, it's a rivalry game. Shit happens, bro. Shit just happens.
Jesus. Yeah, it's funny that it is funny seeing the Flyers fans be the one that don't want to use that narrative for once. But yeah, I don't know. He only got the maximum allowable $10,000 suspension. Personally, I think he should have been suspended. It obviously helps the Penguins that he's not, but as someone who doesn't enjoy headshots, I don't enjoy them when we throw them either. I think this is just a sign that player safety is going to continue to be inconsistent.
Well, and it was an ugly play too.
It was so obvious.
He came in. There was no intention to play the puck. He went in to make a hit, and he threw an elbow in there, and he can't even say I accidentally. No, you went in there with every intention of throwing that elbow. And he should have been fucking suspended.
Absolutely.
So, whatever. I'm glad he got fined. It's hard to say you care about player safety when you have one of the dirtiest players of all time running it, but whatever.
I wouldn't call Peros one of the dirtiest players of all time. You saw him more being a fan out in the West, but...
I would. Dude sucks. Fuck George Peros.
Rampage today. First it was the Rangers, now it's Peros. Come on. Who is savable? But
Nobody.
No, the only thing that is consistent about player safety is their inconsistency. So I don't think I can be surprised by anything that they do anymore.
Yeah. And then we have one other player safety piece of news. Sammy Blais from the St. Louis Blues gets 2 games for his hit on what's-his-nuts. Who'd he hit again? Man, I probably should have wrote that down.
Wasn't it Burakovsky?
I thought it was someone on the Ducks. No, you're right. It was the Avalanche. I'm dumb.
Burakovsky sounds right.
Yeah, I think you are right.
Burakovsky.
So, who wants to go first on this one? How do we feel about this? He got 2 games.
I thought the McCann hit was more egregious than this. It wasn't good, but it was kind of one of those bang plays. Yeah, he hit him up high. He launched a little bit, but I don't think he was going for his head in any way, shape, or form. At least that's my view of it. I definitely have seen other people call it a dirty play, but I didn't think it was anything egregious. Didn't think it was more egregious than the McCann one.
I mean, the McCann one...
It took us...
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, I was laughing at
Devon Taves.
Taves, that's it.
But it took us all of 2 periods into the last game of the opening day to get a suspension.
Yeah. This hit, I think it's 2 games well deserved. I mean, intent-wise, I'd say it's not as bad as the McCann hit. Outcome-wise, I think it's an uglier hit as far as just the contact. He barely touches anything but the head, is the issue here. And he hits him hard enough to fucking spin him. I don't think he meant to do it. I think it's more of a poor decision than anything. I'm so sick of the keep your head up. And that's the other thing. He made that play that we heard all about last year. The approach to that hit is no different than the hit that Kachuk put on Cassian last year that made Cassian lost his mind. That coming around the net to catch the guy who can't see you coming behind it. You could say all day that Taves should have his head up. Even with his head up, that's a hard hit to see coming. And also, his head in relation to his body doesn't drastically change too soon for him to do anything about it. Like I said, I think Blais a good player. I think the 2 games is well deserved. And no, I don't see the intent there. But the outcome, I can't really agree that it's more or that it's less egregious than McCann, because the thing with McCann's is it's very blatant, the intent, but it's not that hard of a hit. This was he spun him out. And they do have to have that aspect of, even if it is an accident, you got to punish guys to set the precedent. Like, you can't just accidentally blast people in the head. You have to play safe.
I think you worded my intentions better than I did. That was more what I was going for. Like, I don't think he intentionally, like, went to fucking blow him up. I think it just kind of happened. But you're right. He made full-on contact with the head, and, you know, you're going to get suspended now in the NHL if you make contact with the head.
Yeah. Trent?
Unless you're James McCann. But, no, that, I don't even, is Devon Taves hurt after that? Like,
no, he
is
came
he actually
back.
Injured, or did he come back to the game?
He came back.
Yeah, well, then I don't know why. I understand the 2 games, but if you're going to give him 2 games, why didn't you give McCann?
And that's what it always comes down to,
like
with
I
the
said before.
See, my problem is, like, when I see a lot of that, and so many people, namely Blues fans, who I've been making fun of for the fact that that fan base melts down over everything because of their inferiority complex. But whenever it happens to your team, not you guys, but the general consensus I seem to see from hockey fans is when their team gets rung up, they seem to, like, the way they see it being corrected is their guy should get away with it, rather than saying the other person shouldn't have. It should never be that someone gets away with what they got, they shouldn't get away with it. That's not the way to correct it. The way to correct it is, like, Jared McCann should be suspended. You know, like, it does need to be more consistent, but not in terms of, like, you let Sammy Blais go because of consistency. And I just think a lot of people take the wrong side of what corrections need to be. I was proud to actually see a lot of Penguins fans saying McCann should have been suspended. It's very rare to see reasonable takes seem to be the popular opinion from this fan base.
What did Mark Madden have to say?
I didn't, you know. Can't say I listened to Mark Madden this week.
I mean, We'll probably find out tomorrow when he's on Pat McAfee. I'm sure we'll find out all he has to say about it.
Make sure to shoot me a text, because I will not fucking be listening.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Well, that wasn't the only bad news for the Blues this week. I could think of at least 8 more bad things that happened to them.
I can think of 9.
9?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bennington tweeting out, a team that loses 8-0 has no room to talk.
Wait, what
that
was
was like 2 years ago.
Oh.
When he first started, when in his first year, when he tweeted, any team that loses 8-0 doesn't deserve any respect, or some shit like that. And then everybody starts quote tweeting him the other day with the Blues losing 8-0.
Oh, I'll count
bad.
that as a 9th bad thing.
That was terrible.
I
was
thought
a
that you
terrible game.
I thought you meant that he called the Blues out and tweeted that after they lost 8-0.
No, that would have been 9 and 10, because then he would have been gone and they would have had to look for a new goalie.
Man, stupid shit on Twitter. You know who that reminds me of? The Pittsburgh Steelers. And Tony DeAngelo.
Steelers.
Yeah.
What, no TikTok dance this week, Phil?
Listen, buddy, I didn't support the TikTok dances. I didn't see that. He did it at Heinz Field, too. I didn't see it as a disrespectful dancing on their logo thing, but it was... You still better fucking win, or at least not fumble. I think we've talked about that. Colt, what do you have to say about the Blues Avalanche situation?
Well, when the Avalanche go 5 of 7 on the power play and completely just flex their fucking muscles all over St. Louis, I think we were all a little like, oh, okay, game 1 they lost, they didn't look good, and then game 2 they came out and just put everything on display. that they can do. I'm looking at the box score here for Colorado, and it like everybody they needed to show up did. Gabe had points. McKinnon had a couple points. They had scoring everywhere, and then their new addition stepped up. They looked scary, and it's hard to say a team looks scary after 2 games, but like when you drop 8-0 on a goaltender that's supposed to be pretty legit, yeah, it's interesting. It was mind blowing to watch that game.
Yeah. Obviously it's not, you don't want to read too much into it considering that there was 5 power play goals, but how much do you think this pushes along the narrative that I so beautifully shoehorned the Penguins into last week with Jordan Binnington, and whether or not he was a flash in the pan that first year?
Ugh. I think it kind of proves you right. I think it kind of proves you right in the fact that, like you said in the podcast, like, how do we know what the true Jordan Binnington is at this point? Again, it's 2 games, and he looked really good in the first game, and then the second one not so much. So, I think it more points us in the direction of well, maybe either Jordan isn't as good as we thought he was, or maybe like we don't know what he is yet because he hasn't put it all on display at one time.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a small sample size, and especially goalies. Some goalies don't really have a true them. They're great one year, fucking terrible the next for their whole careers. So, I mean, like I said, 5 of the goals were on the power play. You don't want to go condemning Binnington too much for that, but it certainly doesn't help.
No.
Especially with that old tweet.
Right. And the thing I've kind of seen around the league is everybody has kind of anticipated goaltenders being a step behind skill players just purely based off the fact that, like, it's going to take goalies a minute to get into the groove of, like, a full-speed game. And I think you're seeing it around the league. Trent, what do you think?
I wasn't there when you guys talked about the web.
You gotta speak up, bud. There we go. I can hear you again.
I wasn't here when you guys talked about the West, so
oh yeah,
I don't remember you talking about that. But yeah, Binnington, like what you said, Phil, apparently that who knows what his real potential is, because he could come out like Elvis Merzlikins did, and who knows if he's going to be that good again.
Yeah. Or one that I've been thinking about is Thatcher Demko. Because I've been thinking about how, first of all, I want to say last week I was a little bit unfair to Vegas when I said how they took the hit at the blue line. I acknowledged them losing Schmidt. I didn't acknowledge them also adding Pietrangelo. So I just felt like I should maybe correct that a little, because as I was listening, I was like, I kind of sold them a little short there. But Vegas is a team that has a hard time scoring, and that was kind of Thatcher Demko's coming out party in the playoffs. And I kind of wonder if that Vegas inability to score maybe propped Demko up a little bit. Or as of right now, Vegas has played 1 game, and they won, but it was a 2-1 win. They
played 2.
Did they?
Yeah, opening night they beat the Ducks 5-2.
Okay. Oops. You're right. That was one of the games on TV that night.
Yeah. I'm gonna quickly springboard off your Demko take, and I'll hand it over to Trent. I think Demko's had a lot of hype for a long time, and he did a lot of it based off of World Juniors. And so I think Demko's good, but like you said, how much of that is going to be that hype going to be from Vegas not being able to score in that bubble run?
Yeah. Trent?
Watching Demko play, I think that he has the skill set to be able to be as good as everybody says, but it's just going to take it's just going to take the team around him to be able to create the hype that everybody's giving him. Say it's not only on him.
Yeah, that's definitely... The thing is, like, you gotta kind of look at that team and say that there were points where without Markstrom, I don't know if they're the team that they ended up being. But the thing is, I mean, the way that both goalies looked, it could be, you know, kind of a Carolina situation where anyone's going to look good behind that team. You know, and you have, speaking of Carolina, fucking Peter Mrazek with a 14-save shutout. That is...
I'm just proud of the Red Wings for getting 14 shots.
Yeah. Yeah, there is the... It was
win.
against the Red Wings, but no matter who you're playing, 14 shots against is insane. That's how you win games with a Zamboni driver. We met our quota for the episode. We got him.
I mean, we got him. I mean, David Ayers only did face 5 shots in that game or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And he gave up a couple still. Then also, we've already talked about one huge mismatch of a game. Let's talk about the other one. Tampa and Chicago.
Holy fuck.
Brutal.
So Trent, you had a note on this that I want you to elaborate on, where you were wondering, is Tampa this good or is Chicago that bad? In my opinion, to sum it up in one word, both 'em.
After the second game, I'm going to have to agree. I made that note after the first game. Just, they outplayed them so much. It looks like they're playing an AHL team out there. Tampa just ran over Chicago. It's not fair. With their top two centers being out, Chicago has absolutely zero chance of doing anything this year besides potentially getting the number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's very possible. I don't know about with the lottery.
Yeah, say the potential to get the number 1 pick. They're not. It didn't even look like they had any communication or practice at all. There was passes going to open areas where nobody was. You saw Delia scramble to get back in goal, and he slipped. It's terrible. Watching the Blackhawks is going to be tough this year.
Not for me. I'm going to love it, and I'm sure Colt will too. Colt, what do you have to say on this one?
As the resident Blackhawks hater on this podcast, let me fucking tell you, that was the most enjoyable 60 minutes from that first game. It was so fun. But in reality, not shitting on the Blackhawks, I'm going to, but not to be too hard. They looked out of sorts. They looked like a team that's openly tanking without saying they're tanking. I almost feel bad for Malcolm Subban and Delia.
Colin Delia.
Just because they have nothing in front of them, blue line wise.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch at time not only how easily Tampa entered the zone, but how easily Tampa won board battles, how easily they sustained pressure, and how easily they cut to the middle and in front of the net. They were winning everything, and it was like that for the second game too. I cannot believe how bad this team is for a team that still has Patrick Kane on a line, actively playing on a line. It was insanity to watch just how bad that Chicago Blackhawks team was.
So I'm going to just leave it at I pretty much agree with everything you two said. I don't really have anything to add that hasn't been said here. The only thing, Colt, I do got to take umbrage with you dubbing yourself the resident Blackhawks hater of this podcast, because I've been hating on the Blackhawks on this podcast since it was just me hosting with a Blackhawks fan. But that said,
I mean, that's fair, but
go ahead.
Does your blood literally boil every time you hear the Fratellis? Does it make you that mad that you just straight up see red every time you hear that fucking song? I could be out in public and I could hear it and just like want to die.
Having sat at a
Blackhawks-
bar for that opening, the Blackhawks opener, the Penguins back end of a back-to-back a few years ago, the 2017 to 18 season, when they just absolutely stomped our shit in, and people just started terrorizing me with the Chelsea dagger, and have since, I can say yes, it does. And Trent can vouch for the time that I was outside smoking a cigarette as the Blackhawks almost mounted a comeback against Winnipeg. And then when they gave up the empty netter, and I start pounding on the windows and just loud enough for people inside the bar to hear me.
Great. I'll say he wasn't the only one laughing.
But before we get off the Blackhawks, I just want to ask you two, based on what Trent said, do you think there's a chance this team is worse than Detroit?
Yes. They beat, at least Detroit beat Carolina last night.
Colt, you cut out there. What was that, bud? I think we lost.
They're like arguably the worst team in the NHL. I'm still here, bitch.
Okay. All right, yeah. Well, and then speaking of mismatches,
No,
go.
they're just bad.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bad teams playing really good teams thus far, we've got one that really pains me to get into. The fucking Penguins absolutely got dominated by the Flyers. A 6-3 loss to open, a 5-2 loss to follow that up, which started out with 3 goals in the first 11 and a half minutes. Tristan Jarry gave up 8 fucking goals. Actually, one of them might have been an empty netter. It's 7 or 8 goals in his first 71 and a half minutes this season. Since DeSmith came in, we did pull off the win today against Washington. It took a shootout and a 4-3 win. That's the lowest amount of goals we've given up so far. We've given up 5, 6, and 3, which I just realized I said my area code. Represent. But yeah, the Penguins. This is another one where I'll go to you guys before I don't want to rant and leave you guys with nothing to say. So the same question as the Chicago and Tampa question. Where is the line between this being the Flyers being good and the Penguins being bad? Now that we've seen the Penguins do well against Washington. I guess, Trent, why don't you start? Or Colton, go ahead.
You want to go, Cole? Me go? All right. Say, I think that the Flyers just came in very prepared. They came in with almost the exact same team as last year. It looked like they were just better prepared, and Pittsburgh just kind of looked a little tired. Philly was kind of running all over the ice against you guys. Like it almost again seemed like they were playing an AHL team or just one that wasn't ready to go at the beginning of the season, which is fair. Like, you only have a week to get ready. You can only scrimmage your own team, but I don't think that that is the normal for Pittsburgh. I think they're going to get a lot better, and they're still getting used to all the new players coming in. But
so in all, basically the Flyers are that good, but Pittsburgh isn't necessarily that bad?
Yes.
Okay. Colt?
Too long, didn't read.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I made it pretty known that I legitimately think the Flyers are that good.
Yeah, I remember.
A lot of what Trent said. I just think the Flyers are that good, man. I don't think the Penguins are nearly as bad as you think they are. There are times where they look horrific, but then also they can still, in the zone, that's still a dangerous team. My question for you, as you being the Penguins fan, do you think this is a team that's going to need to score 4 or 5 goals a night to are they just going to have to outpace teams if they want a chance? Because or right now, Yari's not stopping a fucking thing. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, what do you think after 3 games?
See, I'm hesitant to put it on Jari because he was fucking hung out to dry both games with Philly. Obviously DeSmith has been in net since then. He finished out basically 5-6, 2.5 periods of the second Philly game and all of today in Washington. Or against Washington. It was in Pittsburgh. There's nothing going good for this team. The only bright sides they have are the third line and Sidney Crosby. Even Jake Gensel, he just looks off. I've seen a few times where he's even in a good position with the puck, and he's just not quite making the play that you expect to see out of Gensel. It doesn't help that Rodriguez is there instead of Kapanen right now on that top line. Kapanen should hopefully be back on Tuesday. He was just awaiting his last COVID result, and Sullivan said they hope to get him in there quickly. I don't know, man. I mean, anyone who's listened to this podcast might have noticed that I'm not the most positive guy in the world. But as of right now, the Penguins are in fucking trouble. And that defense is fucking terrible. We pick up Matheson and CeCe in the offseason. They've both been not good, to the point that they're both scratched today, and that's $6 million that we just acquired in the offseason sitting in the press box. That is fucking horrendous.
Matheson's hurt. Sullivan said Matheson's hurt, though. He's going to be out a significant amount of time.
Oh, really?
That's why he didn't play today.
Okay, I was under the impression he was a health
conference or
bomb
something.
because he was fucking terrible, especially in that opener.
No, he's week to week right now.
On one of the big things, the second game, the 6-3 loss, it felt like Chris Letang was out there for every goal against, and he is certainly not getting the production to cancel that out, which is pretty much what you need if you're going to have Chris Letang be a top pairing D-man. There's not a lot to look forward to with this team so far. Go ahead.
Not to speculate anything 3 games into the season, how worried are you about Malkin right now?
So the first game, I was working the night job in the kitchen, so I had to watch the game without audio.
Around.
What's up?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that first game, I had to watch it in the kitchen without audio at my night job. And so without the benefit of the play-by-play and hearing the name, I had to think for a minute after that game to remember if Malkin had even fucking played. He is absolutely invisible out there. The only time I've really noticed him this season, he had a breakaway chance in overtime today that he put right into the pads. But he got all riled up and started, doing angry Malkin shit against Philly. That was the first time I noticed him all year, was in like the second period of the second game, when he got pissed off after the whistle. Other than that, he's invisible out there.
Not a good sign.
Those who couldn't hear, Trenton said it was not a good sign, and yeah, I don't know. He had a great year last year. This is not Malkin's first cold streak. So it's hard to read too much into 3 games, but there's just not a lot going for them right now. Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else have anything else on the Penguins?
Nah, I hope, and I'm sure you've read it too, but it seems like Penguins fans have already kind of jumped back on the Matt Murray bandwagon.
No, Murray's not doing too great in Ottawa. I mean, the first game he got a win with an .870 save percentage, and then the second game he got a loss with a .925 save percentage. I'm seeing some Penguins fans, it's that obnoxious back and forth. When he does well, oh, good thing we got rid of him, mockingly, or, when he does bad, I don't know. It's hard to even summarize the way Penguins fans feel about our goalie situation. you know what it is. Anyone that would listen to our podcast watches enough hockey to know that, yeah, Penguins fans are a shit show when it comes to how they feel about goalies.
For sure.
Speaking of bright sides for the podcast, though, Colt, why don't you go ahead and talk about the Wild?
Okay, so
Excitement
I
in his
started off
eyes.
by saying this. They're still the most mediocre team in hockey. Okay? We're just gonna lay it out. I fully do not think this team is gonna blow anybody out this year. They're just gonna be around all year. Okay. However, Kirill Kaprizov is the real deal. Kid is everywhere on the ice. In 2 games, he's got a goal and 3 assists. 3rd player ever in NHL history to score in their debut. Although Phil says that may have already changed, where he's like, there's 4 players now. But whatever. He's everywhere. He's so talented. He makes a difference on the ice. He's everywhere. He poaches pucks from players when they're not expecting it. He's just so good, man. He's such a difference maker. Gives the team their first legitimate, true threat on offense since, I think, Marian Gaborik. He's amazing. Like, I get it. Like Phil said earlier, he's got that savior complex for Wild fans, looking to like come in and save the franchise. But it's 2 games in, and it's almost worth the like 4 year wait that it's been since he was drafted. And I understand the team's not going to be, they're not going to blow anybody out of the water this year, but like what that brings for our future is insane.
Well, and the one thing, we'll just pull back the curtain. There was a whole rant from Colt that we had to cut. We tried using Zoom thinking it would help with the delays that you may notice. That's just because we're recording remotely. There's going to be delays. And I'm not skilled enough to edit all that stuff out. What you had said about him, how he's able to just kind of poach and wait for you to make a mistake, it's something I've seen in a few Russian players. I'll avoid the obvious Penguins reference. Another player that I see doing this is Evgeny Kuznetsov. Those Russian players that are able to skate the perimeter around the defense as though they were still on the Russian-sized ice. That are able to play on the NHL ice like they have that extra space and skate the perimeter and just keep the puck and wait for things to happen. And from what I've seen, I didn't watch too much of the Wild, but the little bit I've seen of that kid, he has that quality of just being able to possess the puck. And, when you can do that, obviously he's going to have his turnovers. I'm sure there will be a point when the team is doing bad and people will be on him for that. But
it's already started.
Of course.
But he had a bad turnover in overtime that almost led to not overtime, but the Wild had scored with 0.3 seconds left last night to force overtime, and Kaprizov had a bad turnover that almost led to a Jeff Carter empty net, and people were all over him. And I'm like, it's his second game. Relax.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I'm not surprised. I thought maybe he'd get a little bit longer of a honeymoon before that came. But, yeah, the kid, he's special. He's able to possess the puck, and, the players that can do that, they do catch flack for those turnovers. But more often, just as often, they're able to, if you keep the puck that long and you're moving it without even having to pass, obviously if you can keep the puck yourself, that's a higher percentage play of moving the puck than passing it. And when you can possess the puck and just skate around the perimeter like that, you're going to draw the mistakes out of the defense. And especially when he seems able to capitalize on that based on his 4 points he's already got.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't expect from him is to be as aggressive. The kid throws the body. Like, he gets in, again, because I've seen him play, he's got those Parisi tendencies to him where he's just a pest down low and just forces pucks loose. which is awesome to see. It seems like he already has a lot of chemistry with guys like Parisi and Fiala, Foligno, Dumba, which is huge. Yeah, and I don't know what to think of what I can expect long term from him this year, but he's off to a really good start. But I don't have much to say about the Wild other than that, like, they looked really, really sloppy for 2 periods in the first game, and then in the third period they turned it on, and then the next night it was the same thing. They looked frustrated and like they just couldn't figure out how to fucking pass the puck, and then the third period they turned it on, and they got 4 points in 2 games. That's all I can take from it. I will say this though, I think the Kings might be better than we suspect them to be this year.
Yeah, Kings were next on my list here.
Yeah,
and they are not even playing Byfield.
No, so he's in the AHL, starting in the AHL, which makes sense because they're gonna let guys like Turcotte and Bjornfoot stay down there and develop a little bit. But like even then, they looked fast.
Yeah,
like Brown looked healthy, Doughty looked healthy, Carter looked healthy, Kopitar looked really good coming off a long off season. Plus, they have a couple of young guys like Iafallo, and then I'm gonna butcher his name, but I think it's Lacotte or Lacote. He looked really good. Ali Mata actually played really well. Jonathan Quick looks to be back too. Like he gave up some really soft shit, but at the same time, like he looked really, really nice. So I actually I'm thinking the Kings might be a little bit more of a threat. Maybe not make the playoffs, but I think they'll make a push this year. I kind of liked what I saw from the Kings.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't see them until you sent me that note about the Kings, and then I went and watched their highlights, and they look like a hockey team. Drew Doughty being good again doesn't surprise me. I had last year figured as a fluke for him not being good. But, yeah, I didn't expect this team to look respectable.
No. And the one thing I will say, too, is the Wild players today in their press conferences said the ice was fucking terrible for both games. So that could be kind of a developing thing to look out for as the season goes on. If, like, specifically some of these teams that are playing on with shared arenas, the ice. But, yeah, it seemed like a lot of people seem to say that the ice was really, really bad out in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Trent, anything to add here?
I haven't watched any of the Kings. I'm taking your guys' word for it. Looking forward to watching them play, though.
All right, well.
Sick.
You know what else was a bit of a surprise this week? Jakub Voracek.
Can we talk? Can we talk about the fact that this reporter must be so disliked that 20 minutes after the incident actually happened, NBCSN Philly still ran an uncensored fuck on television.
Did they really?
Yes. That's what the footage is from. The footage is from that actual press conference that they re-aired. They didn't censor it at all. And apparently it stems back to some incident from last year where this reporter called Jakub lazy and like called him a disinterested player and some shit, and took a quote from Jakub out of context that he spoke to somebody in his native language and then laughed about it, and then the reporter was like, I wonder, was he laughing at me or the joke nobody said? And then mwah,
yeah,
beautiful.
It was great. And the look on Konechny's face as he says it is just that felt like how I reacted to all of 2020, basically. Just whoa. Yeah, I meant to bring this up when we were talking about the Penguins and Flyers, but goddamn, that was just chef's kiss absolutely beautiful media moment for the NHL. Like,
And I kind of love that Jakob held a grudge. Like, you don't see players hold grudges like that. So apparently that incident stems back to like a year and a half ago.
yeah,
Like, this is old beef.
yeah.
He aired it out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, though. I mean, you know, not so much. Well, we have talked about it on the podcast. I deleted all the old episodes to give us kind of a fresh start. But we've been talking for years about how the NHL, like, these players need to start speaking their minds more in interviews. And he sure as hell did that. I love it.
Speaking of interviews, speaking of interviews, did you guys see that Tim Stützle interview where he was just like, he was so excited that he couldn't talk after he scored, and then like he got called back into the locker room, like all the other guys were yelling for him. She's like, "Sorry, I gotta go," and then he just ran off set and just ran back to the locker room.
Did he score the game-winning goal?
I don't think it was a game winner. Was it?
I thought it was.
That his first goal might be what I was thinking of, and maybe it was just that they said he's the like 200 something player to score in his debut. I might be thinking of that when I was saying that I think there was already the third and fourth player to score an OT winner in their debut.
I don't think Stützle scored in his debut. I think it was the second game.
Oh,
no, he scored in his debut.
Was it the debut?
It was because it was the game against the Maple Leafs was his debut, right?
Yeah. Well, it would have been scored. 2 games against the Maple Leafs.
Right.
Then no, he didn't score in the first game.
Yeah, because it just happened. I think Trent's right. It was his second game. That might not be what I was thinking of. I really shouldn't have even brought that up since I'm not sure if it actually happened.
Did you guys see what? Did you see what?
That's the name of the podcast.
And from switching platforms for the chat, we had to delete that whole rant because it was cutting in and out anyways. We could have pretended it never happened, but we're a good, honest podcast, and that's why we don't support Joseph Kony. We're coming for you, you fucker.
Did you guys see what Campbell, the goalie for Montreal, said? Which
I was
want to
about
talk
to bring
about
that up. Yeah.
He basically said, "I just couldn't do anything other than want to shake the kid's hand after the goal. Like, yeah, he got me."
Yeah.
That was a nasty shot too.
He didn't even get all of it either. It was
No.
He hit it as it was coming down. Like, he didn't get good wood on it either.
Oh, but it was still pretty.
Well, and going to what we said,
Um,
like what I said about, you know, how I enjoy when players are honest in the media. What Campbell said about that, wanting to shake his hand, not as ballsy as the way that Voracek went on. Well, then again, in Voracek's market, people are going to love him telling a reporter to fuck off, and they do.
Oh,
but
Philly loves it.
If you're talking about taking risks in the media, in Toronto, as the goalie, to say you wanted to congratulate the other team for scoring, that's a ballsy thing to say with that media.
Especially against Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I love that.
Quickly, I just wanted to bring up the fact that Freddie Anderson's already been benched for Toronto.
He was not even playing today.
Oh, no. Well, no,
Yeah.
I saw something where Dubas said that if you get the day off, you're getting the whole day off. So where, like, he put him on the taxi squad and brought up Dell. And then next time, whoever's the odd man out is just going to be put on the taxi squad, so he won't have to be bag skated or do anything.
Yeah, I guess I don't hate that.
Off.
If you're not going to play the guy anyways, yeah. I mean, because this is going to be a bit of a sprint for the season, obviously. It's pretty condensed. It's not such a bad idea if you're going to give someone the health bomb for the night to just, activate someone else and have them go to the press conference and shit and just let them stay home.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Freddie's looked fucking terrible in 2 games.
Yeah. By the way, I said today. I don't think that was today that happened. I think I misspoke.
It was
there.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. The days are blurring together. My memory was better before I stopped drinking.
Wild.
Huh?
I said it takes time for it to come back.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about this Dubois situation in Columbus?
Yeah, before we got to those, the two, so we can end on some fun things, we do have two pieces of less fortunate news. Our last 4 stories here are all players with uncertain futures, but the first 2 are a little bit less happy, so I figured we'd go with those. Mike Smith put on long-term injured reserve for Edmonton, who, by the way, McDavid and Draisaitl picking up where they left off.
Straight up. They're lethal.
It's almost like they're good at something.
Yeah, except for playing the Canadians. They are not good at that.
No, they are not.
The Blackhawks.
Yeah. But, yeah, they got their shit stomped by the Canadians the other day.
They lost 5-1 last night.
Yeah, that was bad. But yeah, Mike Smith on long-term injured reserve. He's at that age where anytime something like this happens, you gotta kind of wonder if this is it.
I'm guessing they didn't, but did they come out and say it was like upper body or lower body?
I have not heard anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. And what sucks for Mike Smith is all that time he spent on those terrible Arizona/Phoenix teams. He is one of the best goalies that will be forgotten so quickly. His legacy, the main reason anyone will remember him, period, is for the empty netter.
Yeah.
But, you know what? He's just a goalie that deserves to be remembered way more than he will be. He's been a good goalie for a pretty long time now. I believe he also might have been the goalie that had the puck bounce off the glass and into his back pads as he was sliding back, and he didn't know it was like in his pants, and he put it in the net himself, like inside of his pants. I know it was
happened a couple. I think the one where it went inside of his pants, I think that was it, but I know that it's happened before.
I know it was Phoenix. I don't know if it was Smith. I think actually that was the first year of them being Arizona. You know, I know it was the Coyotes. I just am not sure if it was Smith. I want to say it was his backup, because I think that was relatively close to when Smith hit the empty netter. And I think I remember thinking that both of their goalies had highlights in a short period of time. Because that was the lockout shortened 2013 year. But yeah, I don't know, man. I hope this isn't it for Mike Smith. Because, he deserves to be remembered as better than the guy with the empty netter. And as of right now, he just hasn't had the team success for that.
Agreed. It really does suck. Like you said, the dude does not get the credit he deserves for what he did. Like statistically, if you kind of look, he's all over some pretty big time statistics as a goalie, and it's going to be rough if this is it for old Mike Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else, Trent?
Nope, you guys pretty much touched on everything. Just wish that he would have had more success. I always liked him as a person more than a player, pretty much.
Yeah, he's always been very likable.
Yeah. Salt of the earth kind of guy.
Yeah, and then along that same type of personality type, today Toronto put Jason Spezza on waivers. He made it clear that there's no point, just let him clear waivers because he wants to finish his career in Toronto. So, if he said that if anyone picks him up, he's just going to retire. It's not always a popular move to do something like that. I think Jason Spezza has earned it. And also, why would you want a guy his age that doesn't want to be there anyways? Or the dead cap space if he doesn't say that and retires. I think that was just fine of him to do that. But yeah, I don't know. You like to see... He's been around so long, you'd like to see him ride off into the sunset. Not in the form of Toronto winning a cup, but, more ceremonious than being placed on waivers after 3 games.
This is a dumb question, but does he have a cup?
Spezza? I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's like, he was on Dallas for a while.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah,
Let's see
I'm
here.
looking it up. He was on that Ottawa team that made a run, right?
Yeah, he was on. Well, yeah, he was on all those Ottawa teams that were good for a while.
So just a question for you guys while you're looking this up. Do
He
you
does
think
not.
do you think that there is a potential that there's going to be less waiver claims this year because of the taxi squad? Where you have to send, like, you have the taxi squad and then you have to send somebody down still on waivers. Do you think that the GMs kind of have an agreement to, like, yeah, if we need to send somebody down for cap reasons, maybe you just don't touch them this year?
Well, and besides that, there's also, I mean, you know, you got to kind of think that Canadian division's going to be on an island.
Yeah.
And that's another, like, Spezza probably would have cleared anyways between his age and, well, actually, someone in normal circumstances might have picked up his experience at the cap minimum. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, there might be kind of a gentleman's handshake there where they're just like, yeah, let's not take each other's guys off waivers. But at the same time, there was a goalie that just got claimed off waivers.
LA claimed somebody, but it was like a third string goalie. I had never heard of him before.
It was a guy that has been up before. Whatever. Hold on, we're gonna pause for a second because my dog is barking. It sounds like Miranda just got home. Alright, sorry about that. Trent was right. It was a third string goalie that got picked up off waivers. And the reason I mixed it up is I saw Nikita Sherbak get picked up off waivers, who is someone I've heard of, though when I looked him up, I don't know why, because he has 37 games played, 6 goals, and 2 assists. I can only assume one of them must be against the Penguins, and that's why I remember it. So, we can move on from that. It was Troy Grosnick who got picked up by the Oilers from LA.
Who only has 2 NHL starts, and they were in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So far.
2 NHL starts so far. So yeah, so moving on. Like I said, yeah, just I hope that this isn't the end for Spezza. I hope things work out and he's able to return to the Leafs at some point and at least ride out and get to have his farewell tour, because given that statement about how if anyone else picks him up, he's retiring, and the fact he's already been on waivers once, I can't imagine he's coming back next year. So I hope he gets to take his victory lap.
Dude was the 2nd overall pick in 2001 and only made an All-Star game twice. I think he's one of the more underrated players that's ever been in the league.
That is kind of crazy. It must have been Daniel Alfredson eating up those All-Star spots. Even though back then there was still North America versus World as the format sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I would have thought that he's had more than 2 All-Star games. But there were some good players on those Senators teams. It's almost hard to remember that. So, now we have some funner situations. Do we want to talk about Liney first?
I have the Liney story up right now, so I can talk about it real quick.
All right, go ahead and take it.
So Patrick Laine left Jets practice early today, and his status for the Maple Leaf game has been declared uncertain. Paul Maurice said today after practice that Patty couldn't warm up right during practice. I don't even know if I'm going to list him as day-to-day yet. We'll wait until we get to tomorrow to see how he's feeling. Maurice said, I didn't have to cancel practice yesterday. It was just our decision out of an abundance of caution to why we didn't practice. There is a potential exposure to COVID-19. However, we didn't get told to shut down practice. And Laine is uncertain about whether he tested positive or not. However, it sounds like he may have gotten hurt if he tried to practice and then he left. I don't know.
Or are they preserving him for the Hurricanes?
But I mean, what does couldn't warm up right mean?
That's a good question.
His
The
stick,
fuck?
his stick was taped the wrong way.
He had a Fortnite
fuck,
hangover. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
It's
I've
been an
never heard
interesting
of anything
story.
like that before.
Yeah, that is a new one. Unable to warm up properly. He's a real interesting situation out there in Winnipeg because they don't seem overly concerned with the possibility of losing him. There's been trade rumors. The prominent one seems to be Carolina, which if Winnipeg gives that player to Carolina, it was bad enough when they were already stacked and then they got Brady Shea and Vincent Trocheck. If on top of that, if the Jets give them, I don't care what the return is, if you give that team Patrick Laine, I will go punch Cheveldayoff in the fucking face. Nobody needs that.
There's a 14-day quarantine there, Phil. It's going to take a minute.
Yeah? I'll fucking wait 2 weeks to punch Cheveldayoff in the fucking face.
You're going to stay that angry for 2 weeks?
Dude. Let's test how long someone can stay angry. 17 seconds.
Too soon.
Okay, it's been 8 years. I think, yeah. 2 weeks is an okay
Damn it.
time to be mad.
Ah, shit.
Colt,
It
go
was
ahead.
still funny. It was still funny after 8 years.
Really?
I bet it is.
Yeah.
For somebody that hates the Blackhawks, you sure like it, though.
Oh, I was
It was
pissed.
funny because it's you.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it's weird because Patrick wasn't the only one to miss practice. Nikolai Ehlers didn't practice. They have, Tucker Pullman, who's also in protocol. But for the fact that he started to practice and then left, I don't know. That's something a little weird to me.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't fucking do it. Although I will say it would definitely help solidify my pick of Carolina for the Cup.
That it would.
So yeah. Do we have anything else on? Go ahead. What?
Oh,
Oh, I was just going to say go put money on it, Phil.
I've actually thought about that. The odds are up, and if they get Laine, those odds will probably not be as good of a payout.
True.
So I think that Laine joining that team would push them over the edge for a lot of people.
for real. I meant to bring this up when we were talking about the Flyers, but Couturier out 2 weeks with injured ribs.
Ooh, I didn't even hear that one. That's rough.
That's,
Oh.
yeah.
Wasn't his
the big
shoulder?
one.
I saw he had
No.
an MRI on his shoulder.
He suffered a coastal chondrial separation, which occurs when the rib tears away from the cartilage that connects it to the breastbone.
I
He
don't
was
like
injured
that.
early in the first. Yeah, he was injured early in the first period of a 5-2 win against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Friday.
That sounds unpleasant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. I think they'll be okay, but that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
Yeah.
It absolutely sucks. And the last thing I have in here is shout out Adam McQuaid, who retired, Stanley Cup champion with the Bruins.
I forgot about that one.
Waiter.
Yeah, good
Should
player.
have never left Boston. He should have retired a Bruin. That's all I gotta say.
It kind of sucks that he left Boston just to be basically an absentee for a year, and I guess like from the deadline on 1 year and then another full season, barely playing. It sucks for him to end that way.
Last played in the NHL on March 28th, 2019 for the Blue Jackets. when he left the game with a herniated disc in his neck and basically has never been able to recover.
So that's how little he's been playing. I didn't even fucking know that he ever went to Columbus, and I like Adam McQuaid.
Yeah. So I think he signed there for a year after his stint in New York.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, good, tough player. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. My girlfriend is going to watch a movie with her friend and wanted to say goodbye and was knocking on the door. It was a very perturbing situation.
We promise the podcast won't get any better the more we do it.
Yeah, no. We've had a few little quirks, we'll call them, tonight. This is not our most technically sound episode. But
this is what happens when we try to do something new.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll stick to the old formula. Our last real piece of news is Pierre-Luc Dubois. It was confirmed by Tortorella earlier this week that he has, in fact, requested to be traded from the Blue Jackets. And it's interesting seeing the offers that have been rumored. The obvious landing spot for a good playing Frenchman is going to be Montreal 11 times out of 10. And according to everything, where are you pointing at me for, Colton?
Not you. I'm pointing at Trent.
Oh. Yeah. So, apparently the first thing, Montreal and Columbus are just taking turns trying to wax each other, according to reports. Reportedly, Columbus's asking price from Montreal was Nick Suzuki plus, is what Nick Kyprios said. Also, this is Nick Kyprios, so take it with less than a fucking grain of salt. But, yeah, they asked for Nick Suzuki plus, which, right there, no fucking way if you're Montreal should you make that trade. And then Montreal responds by offering Kotkaniemi, Matei, Kasperi Kotkaniemi. Why am I not thinking of Matei's first name right? Is it Victor?
Victor Mate.
Victor Mate, Matei. Plus. Which, if you're Columbus, no fucking way you take that offer. These guys are just taking turns making horrible offers back and forth. Am I missing something here?
I think it's just Montreal for making sure that it is rumored that they're trying to get the Frenchman. I don't think he was ever going to go to Montreal.
Wow.
I think it's more weird on the Montreal side of it that they even like Kotkaniemi is a potentially really good player. He had a good bubble. Like, yeah. Even though he started slow, but like, I get that you maybe want to take a chance by adding a proven player, but do you want to give up what that kid could be for Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Yeah, and when I say no way, the thing is not that Kotkaniemi couldn't possibly be better than Dubois. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has 2 20-goal seasons already. Probably would have had another with the full season. I think he had like 17 last year. And then a great showing in the bubble. But, you know, if you're Columbus, you can get a more sure thing than a guy that should end up being good in Kotkaniemi. And, I don't know, it's almost like Victor Mate... Like, that... I would not want him as part of the... That doesn't sweeten the deal. I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
Those offers going back and forth was just baffling to me.
I think we have some breaking news, too.
Yeah?
I think Jimmy Howard just retired.
That wasn't breaking. I saw that coming 2 years ago.
Have you been... Is this one of your things where you predict he's going to retire every season?
No, I could see the end coming for Jimmy for a long time. He was not playing with those Detroit teams, did him no favors.
Did a team pick Jimmy him up Howard, this
Nobody picked him up, but he's expected to sign with the Red Wings to,
The
he's
one
expected
day.
to just sign like a 1 day to retire as a Red Wing. This is from Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, basically saying he's expected to officially announce his retirement in the coming days. However, he is retiring.
If Elliot said it, I'll believe it.
Yeah, that's a pretty reliable source there. I'd say we can pretty much just say that's news.
Yeah, so Jimmy Howard, 14 years in the NHL with the Red Wings, but retiring at 37.
Yeah, not much of a shock. Pretty solid career. You know, it's Jimmy Howard. He's definitely fallen out of grace in recent years, but he was at one point a very good goalie.
Stanley Cup winning goalie at one point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he still is a Stanley Cup winning goalie, but
Well, good enough to carry a team as a number one netminder to a Stanley Cup.
yeah.
So,
Oh God, Colt has the hams. Here we go.
You see what I have,
I've had the hams the whole night.
Oh, I haven't even noticed. You fucking degenerates.
Leinenkugel's original. I've never seen that before in my life.
Yeah, I know. It's usually like lemon weiss and summer shandy and shit.
Yeah, I've never just seen the original. Found it in Jacksonville, Illinois, about 3 hours from here.
Leinenkugel's original is the official beer of every old head bar here in Minnesota.
Really?
It is the official beer of anybody over the age of 75.
I had just assumed that would be hams.
They've got good taste.
Leinenkugel's is great. My favorite Leinenkugel's memory is when I saw the dopamines and the beer that they were supposed to get for free all night ran out.
Between the Penguins and the dopamines, do you have any other shit to talk about?
When do I bring up the dopamines? They've never come up on this podcast.
Every time we talk on the phone.
Every once in a while. I think you're mixing them up with Fiddler. Fiddler is the band I always bring up.
No, them too. No, you always bring up the time you did drugs with the dopamines.
I never did drugs with the dopamines. I did shots with the dopamines.
That's drugs. Alcohol is a drug, Phil.
Anyways, it was awesome. They were just yelling about Summer Shandy the whole set, and it was just hilarious, and there was empty pint glasses all over the stage when they were done.
To get this podcast back to hockey. So, I don't see Dubois we got derailed with the Jimmy Howard news. I don't see Dubois being moved anytime soon. Do you?
Not if they're asking for fucking Nick Suzuki plus as like their asking price.
I kind of think the Blue Jackets will slow play it to see what they can get. And it'd also be weird if the Blue Jackets do decide to trade out of that Central. What's going to be the repercussions of, like, how long is it until he plays and all that shit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would make too much of a difference unless they trade him to a Canadian team.
Yeah, that's more my point. If he does go to a Canadian team, like, what's that going to look like?
Yeah. I mean, he's got a pretty tradable contract, which kind of helps with Columbus, what they're asking for. Isn't it 3 years, $6 million? Or three by six?
Yeah. 3 by 6.
That's a pretty good deal.
Dubois' contract?
Yeah.
Dubois' contract was at $210. We talked about this already. It was at $210.
Yeah, so it's just $5 a year.
Oh.
Straight across.
Okay. Never mind then. Still, good contract. Easy to trade. Should help with the return, but I don't know about, like, going for the Canadians. Probably, like, should be their best player in a while. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that they're going to get the return they want anytime soon, so it really just matters how much they rush to get rid of him. And as far as that, he's said all the right things, that he's committed to the team for the time he's there.
Yeah,
So
that's the big thing. Is he's already checked out.
yeah. All right.
I just really quickly before we wrap this up, we're 3 games in from each individual team because we really didn't talk about Trent's team much tonight. I know we talked about the Penguins a lot. Trent, what do you think of the Bruins right now? What are you looking forward to?
Looking forward to the next couple weeks because this first one is not looking too good.
That's it.
Their defense looks sloppy, but they just need to get more used to playing with each other because that sounded dirty.
Not really.
So they've got
No, it really didn't.
Miller came back from like 600 days of no games played, and he looks like he hasn't missed a beat. Already got a brawl in. Carlo needs to step it up. They have 0 5-on-5 goals in 2 games. It's not good.
We're talking about Kevin Miller.
Yeah, Kevin Miller.
Is Kevin Miller looking like he hasn't missed a beat a good thing?
When you got him on the third pair, yes.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't think I've ever heard him praised as someone who you want him to go back to playing the way he's always played.
Well, after the first 2 games, he's looked probably the most comfortable besides McAvoy on the blue line for the Bruins.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell a hole not having Torrey Krug there, or is it just kind of like move on?
The hole is not from Torrey Krug. The hole is from Chara. Grizzlick with Carlo, I think, is going to be better than Krug with Carlo, just because Grizzlick has the offensive capabilities but is still able to play defense, whereas Torrey Krug just did not try to play defense for the first couple years that he was in Boston. But it is definitely seen that they need Pasta back. Their offense just doesn't seem to get anything going. There was a rumor that Keith Yandel might be looking for a new home.
Oh, we didn't touch on Yandel.
Yeah. See, I was surprised that wasn't brought up. I was trying to save it. But if the Bruins could pull him to Boston, that would kind of solidify our defense, I think, just with another person back there that has some sort of experience in the NHL with Lausanne, and Lausanne just doesn't look right out there.
Well,
Zaborov's actually looks pretty good, but he's also on the third pairing, so...
Say they pick up Yandel, suddenly the pressure isn't as much on Grizzlick to have to quarterback that power play. And also, that power play scoring power goes nuts if they were able to pick up Yandel.
Yeah. But overall, with the Bruins, I think it's really just too early to say anything, especially since their only 2 games have been against the Devils. But I really don't think that we'll see the Bruins come into their true form for another week or 2.
I think that's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that's the Bruins.
All right. Cool. That's all I got for tonight, boys.
All right.
Yeah.
Trent, send us out of here.
My name is Trenton Fuller, and I approve of this message.